What is going on, everyone? We're back. You guys get 2 episodes this week. You guys are so lucky. I'm Julian, and this is the Inside Scoop podcast. I want to welcome back Brandon Spratt into the studio. Thanks so much for doing another episode with me.
Thank you for having me on, Julian. It was exciting, and I'm looking forward to another one.
Yeah. We went a lot of in depth with our previous episode. We're not going to put you guys through that again, unless sorry for the geeks and the nerds who maybe really love that stuff, but we're going to be a little bit more general today. We're going to be doing just a basic section playoff recap, and then we will talk about our thoughts of the Miss Hockey finalists, the Jori Jones finalists, and then we will finish with our state tournament predictions for girls A and AA. Super excited for this one. I'm just going to kind of start with the section recap. I'll start with Class A. Dodge County beats Albert Lee. That was a great section final. I kind of projected them to make that. Let's see. 5A, I think, was another section I wanted to touch up on. Yes, I thought Breck was going to make the section final, but Mound beats them. That was super cool. And then Orono, it seemed like Orono had the lead in the section final for the most of Mount Westonka, Southwest Christian, but they kept kind of scoring later. I'd imagine that was a great game. War Road for the 10th straight year, fact checkers, I'm pretty sure I'm right, 10 straight seasons of making the state tournament. They're trying to four-peat as champions. I mean, awesome stuff. That's kind of my general recap. Brandon, you can respond, and then if you want to take charge of AA, lots of good stuff.
Yeah, I would agree. Most of the favorites didn't make it. It was the manner in which they did, which was a little interesting at times. You said it, Mount Westonka Southwest Christian gave a good push to Orono, especially late. I mean, you go back now almost 3 months, but they did beat them in the regular season. So Orono wanting to get one back on their rivals. They do it again in the section final. War Road and Crookston again for the second straight year. The section final was tight. Crookston came back and made it a tie game in the final 5 minutes. And then War Road had the championship mentality to respond. The only one I would add to that would be Holy Angels going to double overtime over South St. Paul. 2 years in a row of an absolutely classic section final at the Richfield Ice Arena. It's actually, and I was thinking about this as I went to that game that night. It is the only section final, boys or girls. There are 16 boys, 16 girls sections. 1 out of 32 that is the high seed hosting. Now, through various other things, a team that you may have some rooting interest in at times also gets to play their section home games in their arena, but it's not technically a high seed hosted game. So to have that, it's unique, and it was great. The crowd was even a little bit bigger than last year, which was awesome.
Yeah, that seemed like it was a great game. South St. Paul team, they've had their ups and downs, but I think they've really finished out the year well, and for them to make the section final is great. And then give Holy Angels a run for their money, I think was really impressive, because Holy Angels, they've been a team, they've beaten some of the best. I mean, they've beaten Centennial Spring Lake Park, right? So when they're playing their best hockey, they can beat anyone. They've proven it. So for South St. Paul to take them to double OT, I mean, it's unfortunate they fell short, but in a lot of ways, they should still be really proud in what they've done. Double A, we had some great upsets. Well, I don't know if I want to call this an upset, but we have a great story, and Brandon, we'll let you have at this one in a moment. Holy Family makes it to the state tournament for the first time in school history. Brandon, you were doing play-by-play on Minnesota Hockey TV. They take down Minnetonka, a team who has run that section for close to a decade, and then previously it was run by Eden Prairie. Holy Family, and they've been to numerous section finals, but they haven't been able to beat Minnetonka. Kind of like Benilde just can't beat Edina, similar to that. So I'm going to let you take this one. Holy Family wins 2-1 in overtime. I bet it was a tremendous game to call, and again, great job for Holy Family to punching their ticket to state.
Yeah, no kidding. It was incredible, and you said it, alluded to it. This is the 5th year in a row for Holy Family that they were in that section final. All of them against Minnetonka. I mean, imagine going up in that game year after year, and you just fall short once again. They get it done in the 5th time. When I walked in the arena that night, I just chatted a little bit with Coach Randy Keppel of the Fire, and he said, this is our best shot since 2022, and that was the year that the Fire fell in overtime, 3-2 against Minnetonka. It was an incredible hockey game. And I think Coach Keppel realized that. I would have probably said something similar as well. And so to see them get it done, it was just a tremendous outpouring of emotion. The monkey off the back, that you hear about so often. It was a really special celebration to get to be part of. Congrats to the Fire, their first state title or state tournament appearance in school history for the hockey programs. So boys or girls, the school now about 25 years old, and I'm hoping to see some tremendous fan support down at the X for them. It was awesome. And your 2 goal scorers in that game, Allie Defoe, who is a freshman, having a good season, 15 goals on the year, but it's a freshman playing the biggest game of her life for all intents and purposes, who scores about midway through the third to tie the game. And then Maëlle Schugel, I think it's a story that it's what high school sports is all about, a player that's been so steady for her program. She is a team captain. She plays a lot, so as one of their top 4D, a very important player, so I don't want to minimize that at all. But it was her first goal of the season. Just amazing. I would love to know how she is feeling about that. And so it's a really cool story. And congrats to the Fire, who I think could make some noise. We'll get there in a little bit.
Well, we definitely will. Yeah, I mean, that's a goal that she's going to remember for the rest of her life. The first goal of her year happens to be the game-winning goal to upset Minnetonka in the section final to go to state for the first time in school history. You can't make it up.
No.
And I'm hoping that Holy Family, they can bring all the students. I know it's not a huge school, but I'm really hoping they can bring out the students. They've got a great matchup in the quarterfinals on Thursday. So, like you said, we'll get to that in a little bit. I got the honor to call the 8AA section final between Moorhead and Roseau. This was a highly anticipated matchup. They split the regular season series 1-1. Moorhead got the 1 seed. They cruised by their section, no problem. Roseau ran into a little bit of a hiccup. They bumped into Bemidji, who I've mentioned was the dark horse in that section. They have a very young of girls who are, I think, going to lead this team to being the best in the section for the next upcoming couple of years.
Agreed.
But Roseau, they pick up the home win, 3-2 in overtime. They're led by the 3-headed monster, Lily Erickson, Jasmine Havda, Peyton Remick, all tremendous. So they go up in Thief River Falls. They play their section final. It was a good start. Moorhead scored first. Roseau tallied right back at him. But ever since that first goal Roseau scored, they were just sluggish. It was just not their game. On the power play, unfortunately, it looked like they actually were doing better full strength than when they were on the power play. They couldn't pass. They just couldn't set anything up. And credit to Moorhead, they were very aggressive, probably the most aggressive I've ever seen a penalty kill unit all season. And it worked out, and they kept doing it. And Moorhead was able to score the puck. Final score 6-1. Crescent, the goalie for Moorhead, has been on to a tremendous senior season, and nothing short of that game in the section final. So Moorhead goes to state for the second time in 3 years, and they get matched up with Holy Family. That's awesome.
Yeah, it is. It is awesome. Yeah, our 2 section finalists going head to head, are the winners.
Yeah, that was a fun game. Edina goes to state again. They beat Benilde.
I think that's now 11 for them in a row.
11.
It's either 11 or 12.
Standing. Yeah.
Yeah.
What a dynasty they've had year after year. They're always making noise. Hill Murray beats Woodbury. It would have been really cool to see Woodbury win that, but Hill Murray, I mean, just the strength of schedule, I think, was just way better. And Woodbury, they just didn't have that strength. Like
they
Hill Murray
didn't.
did.
I would only note that they only have 1 senior this year as well. Hill Murray certainly is going to be very, very talented for years to come as well. So I think that's setting up to be a pretty titanic matchup in Section 4A, especially next year. The senior class for Woodbury, really, really strong.
Yes. Yeah, that both young teams, lots of young talent. So hopefully we'll get to see a lot more of them banging it out in the the section finals.
Well, then again, I would just note one thing too. We are due for our annual 2-year or semi-annual, if you prefer, 2-year realignment. So actually that would be Would that be biannual? Every 2 years? Is it bi or semi?
It would be.
I think it's No, I don't know. It doesn't
I've never
matter.
heard of biannual.
So
semi-annual, I think sounds right.
I think it is semi. Yeah, biannual is twice a year. I think someone's gonna might correct us on this, but it's fine.
Yeah.
But yes, we will have section realignment for next year. Maybe a lot changes, maybe not much changes. We'll find out.
Well, I'm sure if you're Woodbury, you're probably pushing either for Hill Murray to get out of the section or for you guys to leave. Oh yeah, lots of good in store. So that's kind of our basic recap. There really wasn't a whole lot of upsets. I think it's tough in girls hockey when you have one really good team in the section. Anything can happen, but for the most part, we saw the high seed win 3 AA. Hey, Rosemont played the 6 seed Eastview Burnsville. They went on a tear, beating Apple Valley, who I thought was going to win, and they shut down Moran's line, no problem. I know you weren't a super big fan of Apple Valley this season. And then they go and beat Creighton Durham Hall, who was Matty Ice's prediction, and I want to say you predicted them too. Or
I don't remember, to be honest. I don't
Okay.
remember. I think I might have gone with Rosemont, but I can't totally remember.
Okay.
But yeah, definitely credit to Eastview. That's another team that I think will be pretty good for years to come. They only had a couple seniors too. Some of their top players were, but their goaltender, Beth Bigalki, was really good. Jaden Stolminski and Brielle Clardy, a couple of young players to keep an eye on. Being a Burnsville resident and native, that one was a cool story for sure, but definitely congratulations to Rosemont. And all South Suburban, I almost said Suburban East, and all South Suburban Conference section final. And by the way, of the 3 section finals that I either called or attended, that one had best atmosphere, bar none. Wasn't even close.
Yeah, I heard it was a packed barn. Like I mentioned this, my buddy's sister plays for Rosemount, and he was at the game, and he said, I mean, I don't know how early you got there, but he's like, yeah, it's full for warm-ups. I'm pretty sure he mentioned that.
Yep, and you get the bands, the battle of the bands in there. Obviously, Rosemont's marching band is like nationally renowned.
Okay.
Their pep band was very, very good as well. I'm sure there's a lot of crossover there. So, yeah, it was a real treat. Got to just hanging out with my good friends Matty Ice, as you mentioned, and Bernie Kelcher.
Oh yeah, they were on the call. Yeah, that must have been one heck of a game. I mean, 1-0 finish. Their ability to beat Creighton, to beat Apple Valley, and then they were just 1 goal short of beating the number 1 Rosemount.
Yeah.
Great experience they're gaining. They're going to learn a lot from this, and they're definitely going to be dangerous for the next few years to come, especially with Stramel and Moran leaving that section.
Yes.
We're going to head into Miss Hockey now, Jori Jones a little bit. We're going to discuss that kind of as our little intermission, our halftime performance. Brandon, I'm going to let you take lead on this one.
Where would you like to start? Should we start with the goalies or the skaters?
We'll go goalies.
All right, the goalies. All right, this will be the second year of the Jori Jones Award. The second year it's been called that in honor of the late Roseville Raider goalie Jori Jones, who tragically passed away in a car accident back in 2023. And this award honors her and her spirit as well. The finalists this year, we already mentioned one of them. One of them is Taylor Crescent of Moorhead. She is one of 2 AA goaltenders. Layla Hemp of Minnetonka, the other finalists from AA. And then we have 3 from Class A, 2 of which will be appearing in the state tournament. Ida Huber of Dodge County, who I actually found out recently is actually making her 3rd state tournament appearance. She made it as an 8th grader for the Rochester Lourdes team, and she was their starter. You have Zoe Rimstad of Holy Angels helping the Stars to back-to-back state titles or state tournament appearances. Taylor Crescent of Moorhead, her 2nd in 3 years. Ida Huber, her 3rd. Layla Hemp falls just short. She was part of 3 state tournament teams for Minnetonka, the starter for 2 of those runs. And then Mallory Hartle of Moose Lake, who I also through the process found out is a Providence University commit. I didn't even realize she was a D1 commit. Okay. Her season ended in the section semifinals against Proctor Hermantown in a bit of blowout fashion, but she will make the trip down I-35. So the 5 Jori Jones finalists, I would say Layla Hemp, definitely the prohibited favorite for this award. I think if there's one to challenge, it could be Ida Huber. She's been very strong. Dodge County has been the top defensive team in the state all season, and her numbers are sparkling as a result. See if I can see what's highlighted here. leading the state in goals against average and save percentage and shutouts, the trifecta. 0.83 goals per game, 958 save percentage, 11 shutouts for Ida Huber, which is pretty incredible. So yeah, Hemp and Huber, I think, would be the top two. I think Taylor Crescent is another double A, could maybe be the other candidate for second place, but certainly all great candidates.
Yeah, all those girls are incredible. I think when it comes to pure talent, I've always been a fan of Hemp. Now, I'm not sure if state tournament this year, if that has an effect or not, or if it's just based off the regular season. I know various awards in various different sports. It just depends. I know for the NFL, the MVP just has to do with the regular season. I think it's difficult to not include postseason, just especially, right? I mean, not to say Hemp had a bad postseason. She, Minnetonka only let up 2 goals in their section run. But Huber, able to help Dodge County punch their way to state, I think, does hold some quality weight there. And like you said, if she's got the best save percentage, the best goals allowed, 11 shutouts, tough to argue against that. We'll see. I've seen her a couple of times in my young broadcasting career, and she is phenomenal. But I've also seen Layla Hemp as well. I think between those two, it's great. Crescent, if there's a third place award, I think she'd probably get it. But she's got some good numbers too, I know.
Yeah, very good.
She's like near a .950 save percentage and allows just over a goal a game.
Yeah, and Taylor Crescent, I believe, I think she was at least a 4-year starter as well, where some of these others, maybe had to sit behind a senior or split some time, those sorts of things. But yeah, Taylor Crescent has been such a rock for that Spuds program, and great to see her back at the X this year. I'll just follow up with the other college commitments as well. Layla Hemp, University of Minnesota, as well as her Team USA gold medal. I got the USA hockey hoodie. Not for Layla. This was a little bit more for the big win over Canada the other night. We now found out that they will play again on Thursday in the Four Nations face-off, but we'll stick to the high school preps. Ida Huber, Long Island University, the Sharks. Taylor Crescent, currently undecided. We did see a late commit last year from a senior goalie of the year, a finalist in Caitlin Gross, so we'll hold out some hope for Taylor there. Zoe Rimstad, Lindenwood University.
Yeah, all of them are going to go D1. That's just how it is. And I think, the interesting thing about goalies is certain schools, they don't recruit goalies every year just because you're only going to have 1 or 2. So I think it's just a matter of, okay, who needs a goalie next year? Or, which team has a goalie graduating coming up? But I'm sure she'll find a good home somewhere in Division I women's college hockey. Now let's talk about Miss Hockey. We had how about Mankato State? They're going to be getting one heck of a recruiting class. 3. Is it 3?
Yes, it is. It is. You're absolutely right. It is
that
3.
They're getting next year. Bischoff, Stramel, and Moran. And then you have Mackenzie Jones from Andover. And then, Cooling Camp, right? From Centennial Spring Lake Park.
Yes, that is correct. So our 5 finalists.
That's the 5, yep.
Yes. Mercury Bischoff, Michaela Moran, Sophie Stramel, as you said, all Minnesota State Mankato Maverick commits. That's pretty incredible. Tegan Coolen-Camp, who led Centennial to the best record in the state entering the state tournament. Obviously, they are still alive for that ultimate goal. She's committed to St. Thomas, and Mackenzie Jones, the lone defender of the 5, to the University of Wisconsin.
I mean, again, I'm pretty broad. When you look at points, Bischoff is the clear favorite. I mean, she seems like she's good for about 2 goals a game, which is great. I've called just one of Grand Rapids Greenway's games this year down when they played in Rogers, and she's incredible. I have not seen Moran play this year, but I know she's phenomenal. I got to see Sophie Stramel play at Hockey Day Minnesota, and she put up a hat trick performance. She's great. I know her. She's a very nice girl. Moran's very nice as well. I've had them on the show. So maybe I'm a little biased towards having one of them too, just because, I've got the personal connection. However, I mean, I don't really, it's so tough. If we go based off points, I mean, Bischoff clears the floor.
Yeah, certainly. And it will be interesting. I do think it's probably Mercury's to lose, would be my guess. Again, as you said, because of points. Also, the longevity of her career, over 200. That's actually 233 in her career, according to the release. Kayla Moran has put up 337 points in her career as well. So the longevity for her has been really, really impressive. Sophie Stramel is over 200 career points. So there's some big totals in this year's class. Then you look at Mackenzie Jones. From the time she took the ice as a freshman, she was already one of the best players, I think, in high school hockey. Just her two-way game from the blue line helped lead Andover to a state title 3 years ago. And they're back for another shot this week, trying to get 2 in 4 years. And then shout out Tegan Kuhlenkamp as well. She would have been the one, definitely a candidate at the beginning of the year as a top senior. But just the fact that her season, 70 points, which is 4th in the state, 2nd most in class behind Mercury Bishop in AA. So I think she's the one who sort of elevated herself from, semifinalists, finalists in the mixed territory to being, locked in as a finalist, not only because of her incredible season, but also her team's incredible year. So congrats to Tegan, and well-deserved for her.
Yeah, she's had a phenomenal year, and I'm loving that she's going to St. Thomas. Hopefully she'll be...
Yeah. The Tommies have had quite a few Miss Hockey finalists these last couple of years. Last year, Ella Berger obviously won 2 years ago. Ella Housey from Hill Murray was in there.
Yeah, they've had some big-name recruits. However,
Danny Strom for senior goalie of the year last year. She's second. I don't know if she was. I think she was second. I don't know if they officially released it or not, but
I can't remember. I know she was definitely up there, and she's had actually a really good freshman year for St. Thomas. However, the Tommies, even with all these big names, haven't been able to figure it out in women's hockey.
But they're getting there. They're getting there. I promise. Bethany Browson has done nothing but good things since she became the interim and got that tag taken off a couple weeks ago. Well deserved after they swept UMD. The Tommies are on the charge. Momentum is building toward a new arena in the fall.
Yeah.
I keep getting off track. We're getting off the preps.
No, it's fine. No, it's all good.
All right.
Man.
So sections, Miss Hockey, Jori Jones. I think it's time for the main event.
It's time, ladies and gentlemen. The state tournament. Well, I get to announce some pretty cool news. I'm hoping. I think I get to have a credential with Minnesota Hockey TV, and
awesome.
I'm really excited to work that tournament this week. So I will be there for the majority of the games this upcoming week. Really looking forward to it. I still get to announce. I think Thursday I get to announce St. Thomas Academy. They're 1 in either 8 or 9 game. Looking forward to seeing how the cadets do. But we're going to be at the X for a lot of this upcoming week, hopefully. So really excited to see a lot of these games in person and cover them from a media perspective. We'll start with Class A here. So Dodge County, they are awarded with the number 1 seed, followed by Orono, who they do have the head-to-head over Warroad. So I completely understand that. Warroad at the 3, can't argue that a ton. And then this is also the first year, right, where we don't have the 1 through 5 and then the 6 through 8 are randomly selected. This is a 1 through 8 seed. I don't think there were any real big surprises for Class A in terms of 1 through 8. I'm going to start with just going game by game, starting with the quarterfinals and just kind of giving my overall predictions. Dodge County gets matched up with River Lakes. Dodge should easily win that game. The 5 and the 4, Holy Angels Proctor, Hermantown, that'll be the game of the night. I do think Holy Angels wins it just because they left the tournament early last year. They got beat in the semifinals, and I think they want to have another go at it. And you do have one of the state's best goalies, which I think is a huge difference maker. So I'm going to go Holy Angels in that one. Orono should beat Fergus Falls, no problem. That could be a massacre, unfortunately. And then Warroad Marshall. I love Marshall. I'm super happy for them making it. They've had a great year, 22 wins tally through sections. However, I think Warroad beats the pants out of them. Those are my quarterfinal predictions. 1 through 4 should win. Nothing special.
Yes, I'm going to second all of those. Only things I will add. Number 1 on seeding. It's interesting. It never even occurred to me that Dodge County could be the 1 seed. For some reason, I was thinking it'll either be Warroad because of the best overall record that they have, or I thought it might be Orono because Orono beat the team with the best record. It never occurred to me that they could jam those 2 teams 1 spot down and Dodge County at the top. Now, why that never occurred to me, I don't really know. But that's how the bracket shook out. I'm very excited. This group of teams this year, it is 6 of the 8 returning from a year ago. including the same top 5 seeds, just in slightly different order. We mix and matched a little bit. Marshall in place of Laverne, and then River Lakes is back after beating Wilmer, who was in last year. Marshall, obviously, if you tune into that game, if you do, credit to you, because it's going to be, let's see, War Road. Yeah, that's a day session game. So if you tune into War Road and Marshall, pay attention to Brooklyn Mock, number 15 for Marshall. She's going to be getting more and more attention in the next couple of years as she's a sophomore this year. So colleges can start chatting in the spring or in the summer, pardon me. Just a really great player. I got a chance to watch her in person a couple weeks ago, and it's a power game. Really good on the boards. Really good in puck possession. Strong skater. So I liked watching her game. But yeah, I'm not going to dispute anything you said there. Holy Angels, Proctor, Hermantown, the nightcap. I will definitely be in attendance as a partisan for the Stars, and excited to get to just watch some more games this year and kind of take that fan angle. In Class A, I will not pretend to be unbiased because Holy Angels being my alma mater. So very excited to go cheer them on. That Proctor Hermantown game is going to be intriguing. I think it will be low scoring. Those teams are mirror images of one another in how they play. Very strong defensively, and that's what you would expect when you get two Division I defenders as the respective coaches. Ryan Lemire, who played at St. Cloud State, the Holy Angels coach, was a blue liner, and Emma Stauber from Proctor Hermantown, she played at the University of Minnesota Duluth, was a defender, went on to play for the former Minnesota Whitecaps. So, yeah, I'll back you and say the same 4 teams in a few more words.
Yes, absolutely. Well, I'm looking forward to hopefully meeting up with you sometime at the state tournament. And I also, just for information, I'm pretty sure Dodge County, they got the 1 seed because they did beat Orono in the regular season. I just remember you were like, oh, I don't really, I just didn't know if you were sure, because I was like, I'm pretty sure.
No, I remember. I remember that. I just didn't. I don't know. That's just was how it worked in my head. I know Dodge County has a strong resume too. I don't think it is quite as strong as Orono or War Road, but you're right. They did beat them head to head.
Yes.
So no, that was just again my brain.
No, all good. I just wanted to fill that in. Semifinals, Dodge County and Holy Angels in the semis. I'm going to start with that. That should be a dogfight. You have Dodge County looking to return to the state championship for back-to-back seasons. You have Holy Angels last year, who was the 1 seed, who ended up losing in the semifinals. Probably 2 of the best goalies you could say even in the whole state tournament, but for sure in Class A. I'm going to go Dodge County just because these girls, they won in the semifinals last year. And, no disrespect to Holy Angels, I'm just not convinced. I just don't know if they can win the big game. And it would be great to see them just because, it's not Orono, it's not War Road. So I would not be upset by any means if Holy Angels stuns Dodge County, and that's certainly possible. However, I just don't know if they have it in them from my perspective. So that's why I have Dodge County advancing to the state championship. Orono War Road is a tremendous matchup in a lot of people's eyes. That's number 1 and number 2. When both of these teams play their best hockey, they can beat anyone in the state. I mean, Orono, they have a tremendous resume of teams they play. And I've been going back and forth with this one because War Road, they've won the state tournament 3 years in a row now. However, I'm going to go Orono. I just don't know what Orono are we going to see. Are we going to see the inconsistent Orono that we've seen throughout parts of the season, or are we going to see them at their best? And I'm hoping to see them at their best, and I can't bet against them. So I've got Orono beating War Road in the semifinals, making it to the championship.
Okay. I would, that Dodge County Holy Angels matchup is very interesting. It's one that I thought we would see back in December at the Breck Crosstown Holiday Tournament. Holy Angels ended up getting tripped up by Breck in the semifinals, so we didn't get that matchup at that time, but we have a decent chance at least to get it here in the state semis. What I really like about this matchup, again, it's similar to the Proctor Hermantown Holy Angels matchup in that it's 2 teams that want to play that defense first style of hockey. And that's why I think it's an interesting matchup for both teams. I think it's also 2 teams that either in the case of Holy Angels, made your first state tournament trip in almost 2 decades, Dodge County first ever. So I think we see teams that come back for that second time. They have more confidence. They know what the drill is like. They know the routine. So it's just such an intriguing matchup. I think you're really splitting hairs on this one. The team, they're both just so good. I just think Holy Angels can create just a little more offense from the blue line. And Riley Iverson, who scored the winner in the section final. Harper Paling is one of their leading scorers from the blue line and is a senior. I just think just that little edge, because again, it is so tight. But I will take Holy Angels over Dodge County. And then Orono Warroad, you said it. I mean, for all of those reasons, Warroad that hasn't lost in a very long time. I think Moorhead was their last loss in the calendar year 2024. So they're on quite a winning streak. There's just something about how Orono is playing right now. I think especially, we saw it when Macy Rasmussen and Maddie Kimbrell went out for the U18 World Championships. You're losing 2 of your big guns. And they played a fantastic team game without them. And then when those two players came back, they exploded. And I just think this team has the most overall talent. You kind of said it. Is it going to be put together? I think they will. Orono gets back to the state championship.
Yeah, tough to bet against them. Orono against Dodge County, it would be my championship prediction. Something tells me Orono is going to do it. They're just on a heater. Mm-hmm. They have just some of the best players in the state. I mean, what was it? Orono beat Centennial Spring Lake Park without Kimbrell and Matt Rasmussen, I'm pretty sure. I mean, so they've proven that it's like, okay, we don't even need our top 2, right, to beat someone like that. Obviously, you prefer to have them, but they've shown me that we don't need them to be successful. But with them, we could really thrive. And again, if the team that lost in the semis last year to Dodge County, I think they get revenge. That's what I'm calling. So my Class A champion predictor is going to be the Orono Spartans.
Okay. So I have Orono and Holy Angels. My head absolutely tells me that the winner of Warroad Orono is probably going to win the state tournament, because I think those are probably the 2 best teams. But you don't think I'm about to come on here and pick against Holy Angels, do you? I don't think I can do it. These 2 programs the last couple of years have played just some tremendous games. And speaking of kind of a revenge factor, Holy Angels would like nothing more. They've gotten a couple wins against Orono in the last couple of years, but they would love nothing more than to get a postseason win. They have been beaten in the postseason 3 years in a row. It was 2 section finals in a row. Then they got realigned out of Orono section and ended up playing in the 3rd place game at the state tournament last year, where the Spartans won 3rd place in the final 30 seconds, with Zoe Lopez getting them that 3rd place trophy. Holy Angels would love nothing more than a postseason win over Orono. They could play for the 4th year in a row in the playoffs, this time with the ultimate prize on the line. And yeah, I'm not going to pick against the Stars. I'll go a little bit of homerism here.
No, you got to have fun. I mean, it would be too boring to, pick with the most probable teams all the time. I totally get it. Okay, so you got Holy Angels, I've got
Which is probably what I will do when we start AA now. I gotta be a little more practical to balance it out.
So AA, Edina gets the 1 seed, which made no sense.
Can we go there for a second?
Oh, we definitely can. Who starts? Who's going there first? You want to go? You want to take this one?
I'll take it. I'll take it real quick. Okay. My initial reaction was not surprised. I knew there was a possibility that Edina might get bumped up a little for the overall resume. But the only thing I would add to that is, okay, Edina's record against Minnetonka was 1-2. Centennials was 1-0. Okay, so they had the same number of wins. Now, okay, you're not going to punish a team too much for losing to a team as good as Minnetonka. Okay, fine. Edina did beat Hill Murray twice, whereas Centennial only beat them once. Okay, so they have 1 more there. Okay. Edina lost to Andover, whereas Centennial beat Andover. So we're kind of back to even, I would say, in this case. And then when you just look at, 2 losses, 1 for Centennial. On one hand, you can say they only lost 2 games, but both were to Class A teams. Perceived lower, you know what I mean? And it's, by the way, those teams are Orono and Holy Angels, the 2 teams that I just told you could be in the state championship game. But that also means on the flip side, you did not lose to a AA team the entire season. And Edina lost to only two different teams, one of which isn't in the state tournament. I mean, no one's denying how talented Minnetonka is, but they didn't make it to the state tournament. So it's interesting because in my head, if Minnetonka had beaten Holy Family, if Minnetonka then would have had to go ahead of Edina, right? But then Centennial would have had to go ahead of Minnetonka, right? Surely, because they beat them head to head. That's why I don't understand. So I'm sure I probably stole most of your thunder, but if you have anything else to add.
I would be repeating you. You said it best. Edina got it because it's Edina. That's my humble opinion. And we're not talking about boys, but Edina got number 1 seed in 6AA. That is also controversial, and I discussed that in my previous podcast with John Connolly.
I'm gonna have to check that pod out. I was out of town this weekend, so I'm recording on Monday, but I'm excited to see.
Oh yeah, it was a great episode. Yeah, for those who are big boys fans, check it out. Section preview with John Connolly for Boys AA. Great stuff. But yeah, Edina got it because it was Edina. It's getting a little old in my opinion. But you said it best, so I don't want to repeat you. So Edina gets the 1. Centennial Spring Lake Park gets the 2. Hill Murray's 3. That's fine. Again, a lot of these teams, I envision Tonka winning the section tournament, so it's a little weird seeing Hill Murray at 3 because I kind of projected them at 4. Andover at 6. It's kind of weird. I kind of projected them around 5. I think they got it right with Farmington at 8 and Rosemount at 7. Rosemount's a good 7 team. They played Centennial close. I think that's going to be – it has potential to be a close 7-2 game. I do think Centennial makes it out. They should, but that's a really cool matchup. Edina, they're going to beat Farmington, no problemo. So I have those two advancing to the semis. Hill Murray and Andover, this might be the best 3. Well, I guess we technically have 6 seeds now. But, I've always counted it before, even when teams are unseeded. I've always just said, okay, it's the 3 and the 6, whatever. This is the best 3 and 6 matchup I've seen in my fan days of being a high school hockey fan. Hill Murray and Andover, one hell of a matchup. I think I don't want to get too ahead of myself, but I think whoever wins that game could make a deep run. And then we have Moorhead Holy Family at the 4 and the 5. I'm curious to see how that plays out, just because Holy Family, none of these girls have played at the X. And Moorhead, I guess they made it 2 years ago, so some of their older, more experienced players are going to be familiar. And they are a pretty experienced, more junior, senior-based squad from what I remember. So I think they shouldn't have a ton of problems adapting to the environment. However, I just don't see, as much as I'd love to see Holy Family beat Moorhead just because they've never made it to state. They upset Minnetonka. I just don't see them going into a whole new environment. The crowd is going to be there, and you go up against Moorhead, who has that experience. They know the routine. They know the drills. They know how the puck bounces off the boards. They just know how it is. They're more familiar with the ice, and I think that really does matter in a game like this. So I do have Moorhead beating Holy Family. I never answered Hill Murray and Andover. That's one great game. I got to go with my Pioneers just because of my family connections. My mother went there, so shout out to you, Mom. We're going to go with the Pioneers on that one.
Okay. Yeah, lots of breakdown here. I would agree with you on Edina. I think we'll have no problem with Farmington. However, get used to seeing the Tigers at the X, especially if they stay in Section 1. That is a super, super young squad. Echo what you said on Centennial as well against Rosemount. I'm just trying to find that box score real quick. They played very, very early in the season.
I want to say it was 3-1 or 4-2 or something. It was a 2-goal game.
Yes, it was 3-1 on Tuesday, November 12th. It was the first game of the season for Rosemount, and it was the second for Centennial.
Okay.
So, yeah, I would agree with you there, but I will take Centennial to advance. So the top 2 seeds moving on. Would also say I didn't know I was a little uncertain how the 3 through 6 area could have gotten seeded. They did go with what I was quote, hoping to see just based on the head-to-heads and such. Moorhead helped themselves tremendously with their win on the final day of the regular season against Andover. I think if they had lost that game, if Andover had 2 wins against Moorhead instead of splitting one apiece, then Andover's probably your 4 seed, and you end up with a pretty chalky top half of the bracket. As it is, we get a great 4-5 matchup, which is awesome. I will also leave you in suspense and talk about Hill Murray Andover last. I'm going to take the Fire of Holy Family over Moorhead in the 4-5 matchup. Moorhead was in this 4-5 game 2 years ago as well. So that not only do they know the routine, they know what it's like to wait till 8:30 p.m. To play that important game. I just think Holy Family, they played in the Walser not championship. They played back in the Walser tournament. Holy Family outshot them that day 40-23. They had a 2-0 lead in that game before the Spuds scored twice in the second half of the third period. So it's a game that, Holy Family probably controlled for large stretches, especially early. They had a 27-10 shots advantage after 2 periods in that game. And I trust the statisticians over at Braemar Arena. So, but one thing to look for, a lot of penalties. These teams are both relentlessly physical. So expect a physical game. So, but yes, I'm going to go with Holy Family. I just like their depth a little bit better. A little bit of the Team of Destiny vibe too. And Hill Murray Andover. Wow. What a matchup. We had it last year in the state semis. They ended Andover's season. The era of inevitability, the era of invincibility has been totally wiped away from the Andover Huskies, really. We went from thinking 3 years ago when they went undefeated, it was like, is this freshman class ever going to lose a game? Because they had the reputation. I'm talking about the Mackenzie Jones class that is now seniors. They had a reputation. They had won back-to-back state titles, one at youth level and one at the high school level, like undefeated. Like they just didn't lose a game for like 2 or 3 years. It's crazy. We're thinking, are they ever going to lose a game again? They lost to Gentry Academy in the title game 2 years ago and then lost in the semis last year. And it's just been, I don't know how to describe it. Like the talent is clearly there. It's just something weird. And admittedly, I haven't seen them play a ton this year, but just the results, the record, which is still really good as for the schedule they play. But Hill Murray, I think I saw the turning point in their season. A 3-2 loss. It wasn't a loss. It was Benilde St. Margaret's. It was about a month ago. They played an amazing game. The game they played against Benilde was the best pace I've seen in a girls' game in a couple of years, honestly. And they lost with 2 seconds to go in the game. Bailey Gray, a late winner. But they used that to spur them on. They have steamrolled teams since then. They have not lost. They got to win over Benilde. They got out of their section. Hill Murray gets to the semifinals.
Tough to argue that. Tough to argue. Yeah, Hill Murray, they have been one of the hottest teams entering sections, and they're just continuing to build up speed. That leads us to our semifinals. So I have Moorhead and Edina. That should be a pretty decent game. However, I think the Spuds season ends there. Edina's Edina. They win, and they are very talented. They've got arguably the best, second best goalie duo in the state. So regardless, do you know who? I don't really cover Edina much. I've only done one of their games this year. Who is the the primary starter? Well, is it Hannon?
It's very, very interesting because for the second year in a row, I think Nora Hannon has maybe played a little bit more of the quote unquote big games in the regular season sort of thing. However, I did see that Reese McConnell played in the section final against Benilde. She made 30 saves on 31 shots. And last year it was McConnell. They rode the hot hand of McConnell 3 straight games in 3 straight days. After rotating goalies basically the whole season, Coach Cowger decided to stick with McConnell in goal. It's very intriguing of night 1 starter. And assuming they get to night 2 like we think they will, who the night 2 starter is, I have no idea, Julian. Your guess is as good as mine.
Okay. So it's up in the air. We'll see. Well, regardless.
How much do you believe in recapturing last year of we're just going to ride Reese? She also played in the section final. But obviously Nora Hannon is a D1 goalie as well and was on the USA national team. So, man, you know what? I am glad that Sammy has to make that decision because, man, if I could not. That's so tough.
And I bet you the thoughts going through her head, right? If she makes the wrong decision, then she'll be like, oh, man, If I would have played, her over her,
Yeah.
then like we don't got to make that decision. So we're not going to stress.
Thank
We're not going to
goodness.
stress
Thank
about
goodness.
it. But yes, hypothetically, it would make sense for McConnell just because of last year and her playing in the section final against Benilde. That just seems logical to me. But regardless, you have one of the state's best goalies, whoever you play if you're Edina. And I think Edina could struggle. I think if Crescent has a phenomenal game, we could see it being a 1-0, a 2-1 sort of game. But I'm taking the Hornets. They're the champions from last year. Why bet against them? And then Hill Murray, Centennial Spring Lake Park. That is a phenomenal game.
Mm-hmm.
I've seen Centennial play when they played Benilde this year. They are incredible. However, I just wonder if the absence of last year's state tournament, they didn't make it, Maple Grove did. I just wonder if that could interfere versus, when I look at the skaters for Hill Murray on their forwards and their defense, you could say they're the best in the state. And I think that carries them a long way. And goaltending has been an issue for them this year, but it seems like they finally figured it out, better late than never. And I think if the Pioneers, what makes girls AA so crazy to me is you play on Thursday, then you have to play back-to-back Friday. And then if you win that, you have to play, a third game in a row on Saturday. So I think it's a battle of also too, who's more conditioned, who wants it more. And Hill Murray, they want to make it to the state tournament or the state championship because they lost to Edina. And they probably think that Edina is going to win out in the first couple of games. So we want another shot at the Hornets. And I think they're going to give Centennial Spring Lake Park their all and give me the Pioneers and the Hornets and this championship. Big Green.
All right. Yeah, I like the note you made about the 3 games in 3 days too, because it is something that I think those holiday tournaments do such a good job to kind of prepare you for. I believe this entire field played a holiday tournament. And in fact, Edina, Hill Murray, Andover, Moorhead, and Rosemont, all 5 of those teams were in the Walser Invitational. So we talked about that as like a mini state tournament. Well, 5 of the 8 teams that made it to state were there. And then Centennial and Hill Murray played at the Benilde holiday tournament. So they were over there playing also 3 games in 3 days. So those were kind of the 2 places to be. And fortunately, I got to spend some time at those venues over the holidays to kind of get a preview of where we were headed. I will agree with you. Chalk Edina to the state championship. Edina Holy Family is another interesting one. Kind of like Holy Family and Minnetonka. These teams and coaching staffs know each other really well. There's been some spice in the past. There's been some close games in the past. Chips down. I'm not going to bet against the Hornets to get back to the state championship. And then you said something about Hill Murray that I 100% agree with, which is that their group of skaters may be the most talented in the state. I definitely think they are. I thought that from week 1 of the season when they waxed Eden Prairie. They hit a rough patch, but they're playing their best hockey. They did lose to Centennial 3-1 back on December the 26th, Boxing Day for our friends across the pond. I don't think that will happen again. Centennial's going to have their day in the sunshine. Coach Moline, I think, is a great coach. He's involved in the youth setup there too. He coaches their U12s, so that by the time they take kids right from U12s to high school. So like he gets that continuity, and you can tell in the future. They have studs like Kaya Weiland in goal, just a sophomore. Obviously they lose Camp, the Miss Hockey finalists, but Grace Lager and Mia Such are probably future Miss Hockey candidates. Just incredible players and more talent beyond that. Centennial will have their day, but it will be a state title rematch, Edina and Hill Murray. I told you I had to go a little more practical on AA, and so here we are.
Yeah. Well, great minds think alike. We both agree.
Now, do we agree on this one?
I'm going
very curious to find out.
So Edina beat Hill Murray twice this year, 6-0, and then 6-3. Those games haven't exactly been close. It's really tough because part of me is like, it would make sense that Hill Murray wants it more. And I'm like, does Edina sometimes, could they get caught up in their own heads? Oh, we've won this so many damn times. I don't like, how important is this to win it again, right? Where Hill Murray, it's like, we really want one. I don't know when they last won the state championship.
Well, good question. It was
It's
sometime in the
some time.
2010s.
Okay.
I'm going to fact check that real quick. You
Sure.
keep talking.
Yes, thank you. It's been some time for Hill Murray and winning it. However, regardless if it's Hannon or McConnell at the tender, if they play a great game, goalies, they matter. And they can make or break your season. And I don't think Hill Murray has that level of goaltender right now. And although we've discussed this a lot as of recent, Hill Murray, I think we both believed, has the best set of skaters in the state. But when you have Edina, I've said this for now the third time in a row, they know how to win. They always do it, and it's almost like the NFL and betting against the Kansas City Chiefs. Even though they lost the Super Bowl, it happens. But I felt like that for the past few years. Whenever I look at the NFL, don't bet against the Chiefs because they always somehow manage to win. And I think Edina has a similar scenario. I don't think Edina wins the state championship if Minnetonka was in the state tournament.
Okay.
But hey,
so that was your pick.
Yes, Minnetonka was my pick.
Okay.
Before it was all finalized. But now I just have to go to Edina. I think it's big. Again, the goaltenders are just more elite. And when I look at the head-to-head, even though Hill Murray's been playing phenomenal hockey the past month, Edina just has the 2 head-to-head wins. And I just don't think Hill Murray can climb out of that hole after being dug so deep from the Hornets. So the Edina Hornets are my AA state champions.
Well, credit to you for not you went head over heart, unlike what I did back in Class A. So credit to you for that. Yeah, I would say on the goaltending front, it's turned a lot better around the Christmas time and around the New Year. I thought that there was like a flashing red light goaltending emergency for Hill Murray. You have a more experienced or an older player, Charlotte Oscarson, but she sat behind Layla Hemp Grace Zahn, the senior goalie of the year winner a year ago. And Grace, her state tournament story, what she did last year was incredible. The state tournament that she had. But Piper Tam, the 8th grade goaltender, I'm going to give you a little hope. She's won her last 8 starts. The numbers have really come around. 930 save percentage on the season. Now, did she play all of their big games? Not necessarily. Gave up 6 goals to Benilde in her only start of the 3 against Edina. It was 3 goals in half a game when she split that game. So again, who will the goaltender be? That's the really interesting thing about both of these teams is we just both said Edina Hill Murray state championship game. But there's no guarantee what goalie starts the game, and it's really, really interesting to be in that spot. Tam did play the entire section tournament and made 29 saves on 30 shots in the section final against Woodbury. So, I don't know who it is. Clearly, I think Tam has incredible potential playing for a team as good as Hill Murray as an 8th grader. But for all of the reasons you outlined, I'm going with the Hornets to make it number 6 itself. So yeah, it's it just feels like it's written in the stars again for Edina, and I'm going to go with the Hornets once again.
The goalie situation's very intriguing, and I'm really curious to see how it plays out for Edina this year, and then assuming Hill Murray can make it there to see what they decide. With that being said, we're going to leave you all with that. Thank you, everyone, for making it this far. A special thanks to you, Brandon, for coming on the show. We really appreciate your insight, your information. And with that being said, hope everyone is having a great rest of your day, and we'll talk to you later.